Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mitch, and basically what I do is I make videos about Toronto or Canada in general. And for those who don't know, or for those who are new in my channel, we just moved here last year from Japan, and I kind of just wanted to share a little bit more about life here and also information that can actually help you. So yeah. Today I wanted to kind of share more into how you can get a job here in Canada and how was my experience and what are the things that I did step by step. So I'm gonna start off with basically how to actually find jobs. So what are the different kind of channels, medium, or job boards that you actually go to online. So I'm going to be listing out, or I'm going to be kind of discussing 3 of the main job boards in here, and full disclaimer out there before I kind of give my opinions and my ideas on how to find job here is that this is based on what I've researched. It might be different for everyone else, of course, but I wanted to share a little bit more about what I've researched, what I know about the job market here, and what are the tips and techniques that I've learned so far on how I was able to land a job in 1 month. So yeah, so back to the job boards. There are 3 main ones that you should go and take a look at. So first one would be Glassdoor. So Glassdoor is a great resource where you can definitely get or find jobs that are listed. So Glassdoor also is another platform for you to kind of get more insights how it is working in that company, but I'm just going to be talking about a little bit more into the job portions of Glassdoor. So it's a great resource. Type it in and go through the different companies, type in what you want to go search. For example, you are a software developer, engineer, or whatnot. You can get all the jobs in there. So that's Glassdoor. The second one would be Indeed. So Indeed, from what I've researched, is one of the most, or at least one of those popular job boards here in Canada throughout, not just in Toronto, but Canada in general, and I think Indeed would be kind of a great resource as well. There are some overlaps where a lot of the companies would post into different or multiple channels, they would post in Glassdoor, Indeed. So most likely what from my experience is that whatever I see on Glassdoor would probably be in Indeed as well. So there are instances where it could be in Indeed but not in Glassdoor, but very minimal from what I've seen so far. So those are the kind of 2 kind of main job boards that I've kind of really focused at. The third one would be LinkedIn Jobs. So if you do not have LinkedIn, well, it's probably time for you to go start and create one. But LinkedIn has another resource, which is LinkedIn Jobs, where companies post their job postings, and I think it's a great resource as well. But based on my experience, disclaimer as well, based on my experience, I find that there are less jobs in LinkedIn. The reason because is that companies would have to pay extra to go and post in LinkedIn. So some of those companies, whenever they have an ATS or applicant tracking system, it automatically posts into Glassdoor and Indeed. And if they do want to automatically post in LinkedIn as well, then they would have to pay more. But I find that LinkedIn is still a great resource to find those jobs, but I would highly suggest to just go and focus on those 2, which is Indeed and Glassdoor. So those are just some of the mediums and channels that you can go take a look at when you want to find this job. It will vary if you're looking for something, a little bit more specific, which is remote jobs or work from home jobs. There are specific job boards for that, which I could talk about maybe in the next video. But if you're just looking for something like a full-time or even part-time work, I think Indeed and Glassdoor would suffice. So those are the kind of like job boards that I have kind of like looked through and was successful at applying for. Networking. So I guess this is also kind of part on how you'll be able to find jobs. So besides from the job board, if you're very eager and you're really proactive and you're really just looking for a job here, you're new to Canada, you basically are free and you don't have that much things to do yet, I would highly suggest not to just apply online, but go out there, go network with people. I think LinkedIn is a great resource for that. Just reach out for them, ask them if they're available for coffee or chat. You'll be surprised on how much people are actually very nice here and very open for networking. So that's one thing. Second, find different kind of events in Toronto. Toronto is just so great for different events. It could be kind of like a career fair, networking, or open houses. So I work in tech, and every tech company that I know in Toronto hosts kind of like a startup open house. So here in Toronto, they do it every year. I'll go and take or give like a link here or link down below like the different links that you need to see, but they would have startup open houses. So when you go to those startup open houses, that's where you kind of like network and meet new people. You might meet the hiring managers, you might meet those team members that you wanted to apply for. So I highly recommend to network and go see those events. A resource, or if you want to go to different events and you just want to research what those events are, it would be Eventbrite. So Eventbrite is more into companies where they would post like different events for startup open houses, or they have a recruiting event for salespeople or whatnot. I think that's a great resource as well. Okay. So second, I wanted to talk about, let's say you find a new job that you like, how do you kind of like apply, right? So of course, these are just some of the tips and techniques that I've learned on how to get notice once you apply. For sure, whenever there is a job opening, there would be, depending on that of course, there would be quite a lot of people applying to it, and it's very important that you highlight your resume. So around the world, there are different kind of like standard resumes. I highly suggest that you just do a quick Google search on how resumes are here in Canada. From what I've seen and from what I did is that I made it very straight to the point. So a lot of people would tell you make a one-pager or just one-page resume, but for me I think that's nice. However, I wanted to highlight a little bit more about what I do. So it's very important that you are straight to the point. Let's say you're applying for an executive assistant role. So you wanted to highlight those in your resume, your relevant experience, and make it straight to the point. Don't put too much information where the recruiter won't be able to read your resume because you've put a lot of there and it's just gonna be too much. So be straight to the point and highlight those experiences. Second one, I think it's important that you indicate status in Canada. If, let's say, you just came here and you're a permanent resident, you have a work permit, I think it's important to be transparent and honest at first, and be able to put that in your resume. So that's kind of like my tip on that. So let's say you found a job you like, you applied for it, you kind of like made your resume really nice. Now you got a phone interview with a recruiter. What do you do to get to the next step? So I myself, I worked in recruitment for years, so I think that's kind of like an advantage I had. When I applied for the job, I was prepared and know what to say and also how to highlight my skills on what they're looking for. So let's say you have a phone interview. What do you do? Firstly, I think the most important part is research about the company you're applying for. I cannot tell you how much I've talked to people where they didn't even research about their company, and I think, you know, having that responsibility to just go do a quick research on what they do, what industry there are, or who are their competitors, are really important to understand, not just to impress your the recruiter or the person you're interviewing with, but at the same time you'll be able to know if this is a company that you want to work for. I think recruitment is a two-way street. It's not just them vetting out if you'll be great for the company, but it's also for you to kind of find out if you do want to work for the company. So being able to research about what they do, what's their culture like, you know, how it is working in there, I think that's a great thing to do at first before your phone interview. So there's a lot of resource that you should be able to look at. Look at their website, you know, look at the offerings they have. Is it a solution, service, or whatnot? Take a look at that. Take a look at their Instagram. I think a lot of companies now would have their social media handles. So they would have their Instagram to showcase their culture, or, you know, they would have their Facebook pages, their Twitter. Take a look at that. Go through their Glassdoor. So Glassdoor, like what I mentioned, would be a great resource for you to go take a look at the company itself. And at the same time, when you go through Glassdoor, you'll be able to see like a specific tab for interviews. So these are people who post there on their experiences on how they interviewed in that company, and I think it's a great resource where you'll be able to see how the interview went, specific roles as well, that you'll be able to see. So yeah, it's really important that you research a company. And I think second thing would be, let's say you do progress to the second round. So second round, typically it probably would be a phone interview with the hiring manager, or it could be an on-site interview. So based on those interviews, I think it's important that you research on that person. So whenever you progress to the next step, you'll probably get the names of the people that are interviewing you, and LinkedIn would be a great resource for that. So, you know, do a quick search on their names, take a look at their profile. Anything that's interest, or you have like same interest, would be a great starter conversation. And at the same time, you'll be able to see their background, where they came from, and based on that you can ask like different questions on what made them interested to work for the company, you know, based on their background. So those are just some of my tips on how you'll be able to kind of find a job. For recap, so find and apply for jobs. Look through the job boards, Glassdoor, Indeed, and LinkedIn. Second, what do? Apply. Send your resume out, make it straight and direct to the point. Third, when you get into the interview, be yourself. You don't have to pretend. If you have to be very honest and transparent on your skills, your experience, and you're not lying, you'll be fine. And research about the company. It's going to be a great resource for you to be able to see if that's a company that you want to work for, the values they have would be aligned to what your values are, and from there you'll see if it's a great fit. But yeah, hopefully, you know, the tips that I've had would be helpful for you guys. So I think for myself, I was able to find a job in, I guess it was around a month. When we came here, the first week I was applying like crazy, but I was not applying where I thought that I wouldn't want to be in the company, because that says a little bit more about yourself. In Toronto, we have a small community in the tech space, so I think everyone quite knows each other. So I think it's important that you apply for jobs that are jobs that you want to do, not just jobs that you want to put your resume out there. And at the same time, I made my resume very straight to the point, and I would not have kind of like just one resume for all the jobs that I apply. So it really varies. So whenever I wanted to highlight a certain skill, then I would do that for a specific company. I think it's important that you made that effort as well to be noticed. And once you get the interview, what I did, or once I got my interview, is that I researched heavily into the company, because I myself, I wanted to know more about what they offer, where they're projecting at, you know, the next few years, how stable is the company, how's the culture like, right? So those are just some of the things that I did, and in 1 month I was able to find it because I made those steps and I made that effort to really, you know, put myself out there. I've networked as well, which is really good. So yeah, well, comment down below if you do have any questions at all that I can address, or those people who are new in Canada, let me know. How was your experience like? How many months or how many weeks did it take for you to find a job here in Canada? I'll be very interested to know as well. If there's any resource that we all can share, I'll be happy to do so. But anyway, that's all for today, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!